Joining me right now to weigh in is West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. AG, there is so much to discuss with you today. I'm going to start with this bill. Your thoughts on Joe Manchin agreeing to this. Kristen Sinema, we understand, is going to support it since they have taken out the carried interest tax. Your thoughts?
Look, it's deeply disheartening for Senator Manchin to really put this bill together. I couldn't think of a bill that you could draft that would be worse for West Virginia right now. I've read big chunks of this bill, and from an energy perspective, this is lights out time for our state. What they're trying to do is dramatically alter the amount of energy that we're using in the form of coal, shift it over to renewables, but they're doing it in such a fast manner. If they succeed in their quick 40% reduction of carbon emissions, and West Virginia is part of that by this short time frame they're talking about, the West Virginia economy is going to go in a very bad direction. So I'm deeply disturbed by what this bill does. I'm deeply disappointed by Senator Manchin's decision to put this up and drive it. It's going to be inflationary. And let me say, there are major tax increases in there. The Tax Foundation says that the coal industry is going to bear the biggest burden of this new alternative minimum tax. And there are plenty of provisions in here which are terrible for West Virginia and America. We could spend a lot of time, Maria, going through this bill, but 87,000 IRS agents, a lot of new bloated spending, adding to the deficit, and obviously this is not what the economy needs when it's already overheated in terms of the Biden energy agenda driving up inflation.
Yeah, and the fact that we are, in fact, right now in a recession. Equally disturbing is this border crisis. I want to get your take on this video that we're watching right now. This is the bus that is at Port Authority now. It is carrying illegal migrants. They are now descending onto the streets of Manhattan. Of course, we know almost 2 million illegal migrants have crossed into America on Joe Biden's watch. The mayors of New York and Washington are complaining. They're saying, look, why do we have to deal with all of these illegal migrants? Keep them in Texas. Of course, they don't stay in Texas. They go all over the country because Joe Biden and the Democrats have this wide open border policy. You've been suing the administration for a number of reasons. What is your take now on these migrants coming off the bus now in New York City? We don't know their plans.
Well, yeah, no, sadly, this is all foreseeable, right? Because if you have a policy that allows hordes and hordes of people to come across the border, you're not enforcing the law, you have human trafficking and drug trafficking running amok, it's only a matter of time before a lot of these folks fan out across the country. And lo and behold, a lot of the same people that were touting the Biden administration's line, the mayors in a lot of these cities, realize, well, there are real problems with crime, with human trafficking, with drug trafficking, and they don't know what to do with these people. There is no coherent policy coming from the Biden administration on immigration. In fact, the only thing we know that they stand for is they want to stop the states like Texas, states like Arizona, like West Virginia, that have been begging them, pushing them, suing them to have coherent policies. This is worse than we've ever seen it, and it's obviously very deliberate. Maria, you mentioned a phrase earlier, which I want to repeat right now. Dereliction of duty. Of all of the aspects of the Biden administration that have really been problematic for our economy and for our people, I can't think of a worse one than what he's allowing to have happen at the border. And it's shameful. And I wish that all of America could see the good work you're doing and the coverage of this, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize these are real problems, and there will be increased crime, there'll be increased drugs, there will be many problems flowing. You're seeing pictures of it in New York.
Yeah. Well, look, AG, I want to turn to another policy out of the Biden administration, and it's sort of a quieter policy, and that is to ban fossil fuels. Your state is pushing back, saying they're not going to do business with any company that blacklists fossil fuels. The Wall Street Journal wrote an editorial a couple of weeks back saying West Virginia versus political banks, showing how West Virginia is leading the charge against banks blacklisting fossil fuels. They say they're not going to do business with BlackRock, with Wells Fargo, with JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs because they are blacklisting fossil fuels. I spoke with the CEO of Bank of America last week, Brian Moynihan. He said he's doing it all. He's going to bank new energy companies, but he's also going to bank fossil fuel. Here's what he said. Watch.
We have $40 billion in outstanding loans to fossil fuel companies. You look, we're one of the top 5 lenders of fossil fuel companies. But on the other hand, we're the top originator of green bonds this year. We believe we have to have what we call a just transition. The energy independence of America has been a big asset. We've now got to watch over the next several decades that energy transition take place. But we need oil and gas companies to be strong because we need energy, and it takes all kinds, and that's what we believe in. So we get criticized by both sides of being, too green on one side and then lending to fossil fuel companies the others. But that's probably right then.
Sure. So what about that, AG? Patrick, your treasurer is not going to do business with all those other banks. Bank of America says they'll bank fossil fuels. Assess this issue for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, what you've seen over the past number of years is there been a great deal of activism to move this so-called ESG movement, and the government's involved as well. Part of the reason why I think this came into existence is that we've been beating the back as they've been trying to assert the regulatory authority to regulate in this space, and we've had great success in saying, wait, you don't have the authority to rapidly move all these people or force people away from fossil fuels. So what they've done now is they're whispering in all the corporate boards, putting a lot of pressure on them to act. Here's a simple message for them. If you're going to do business in a state that's really dependent on fossil fuels or just wants to make sure that the market works, you should be prepared for the consequences when you target states like West Virginia. That's what's happening right now. They're going after our states, making it more difficult for legitimate businesses to engage in activity that help our citizens. If you do that, you're not going to do business with our state. And it's not just West Virginia. We're talking about a broad coalition of states, 24 states in the coalition that we've been headed against the ESG movement coming out of the Securities and Exchange Commission, 15 states coming out of the Treasurers Coalition. That's a powerful combination. And if we all work together, boy, that's going to make a big difference to send a message to these folks. Don't engage in political activities if you don't want to see a response in return.
Isn't it interesting that you've got a firm like BlackRock, AG, who is telling everybody they're everybody's #1 shareholder and you better get on the ESG board. They are okay blacklisting fossil fuels, but they're okay telling investors to triple down on owning Chinese equities, the very companies tied to the CCP that want to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. No fossil fuels in West Virginia, but okay to CCP-tied companies.
Yeah, obviously the inconsistency on this is off the charts. But one of the things that we're doing is we're looking closely at a lot of these activities. ESG raises serious concerns in terms of consumer, antitrust, and obviously they're morphing the SEC into something it's not.
Okay. All right. We will leave it there. AG Patrick Morrisey, great to see you. Thanks very much. We'll be following all of your leadership. Patrick Morrisey this morning in West Virginia, and we'll be right back.